I'm the bad guy. I'm the
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Across the Gridiron. We are only days away from one of the most anticipated weekends in the NFL calendar, and that is Thanksgiving weekend. And to run our predictions and run a roll over everything, as we always do every week, I am here once again with my friend and yours, Eddie Equo. Eddie, my friend, how are you? Have you finally come down from the Cowboys' victory against the Eagles last weekend?
Nope, I have not, and I intend to stay right up there. We don't know how many of this might come to the Dallas Cowboys. So, well, welcome everyone. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you can get my words out. And I want to thank you to all the people who keep watching us. Thank you for all of you for your support and encouragement. And week 13. This is it. We're now getting into that home stretch of the season where playoff football becomes even more and more real. Some teams have punched their tickets, so to speak, and some teams are packing their bags for their next holiday somewhere in the Algarves or somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, if our predictions were, if someone was packing their bags looking at predictions league, I think it might be, I don't think it'll be me anyway. Not that I want to be smug about it. But look, we're going to pick our 5 games as we always do every week. We're going to run a roll over it and give our picks. But before we do, as ever, let's look at how we got on last week. So Eddie, as I pull things up, how do you think you did last weekend?
Listen, right. I am tired of all these close games that, are sneaking in one way and then just turn in the other direction. I was looking at a 5-0, result, but then a few teams let me down badly in the fourth quarter. How dare them? But okay, let's get it over with.
Okay, well let's just see how it went. So the first game we picked was the Colts at the Chiefs. You went for the Colts, Eddie. That's a rookie mistake. Never bet against the Chiefs, Eddie. We know that. So that's one for me. Packers and Vikings. We both went for the Packers, so that's all good with that one. So Eddie, not too bad. Patriots at the Bengals. We both picked the Patriots, so I think that's fairly safe. Eagles at the Cowboys. Now, again, Eddie, remember, you haven't beat me since like week 2, right? Now, the Eagles and the Cowboys, you picked the Cowboys because, of course, you did. I decided to go for the Eagles. My mistake. I pretty much did it just to wind you up, really. So that's 3-3 going into the final game. Steelers at the Bears. Who is going to take the crown going into this week? Eddie, you picked the Steelers. I picked the Bears. So once again, I claim this one at 4-3. Now, you mentioned about, isn't it annoying all these close games? If it wasn't for those bloody Dallas Cowboys, I would have got back-to-back 5-0s in this one, right? So you want to talk about teams throwing it away, right? The Eagles threw this one away from me, right? I could have been laughing at another 5-2 victory, but I will take a 4-3 victory. How's that?
Imagine if I had just come back exact next week and got 5, because the Colts let it slip, right, in the very last, in overtime.
They did.
And then you've also got the Steelers who, just inexplicably just couldn't get their act together in the fourth quarter. So that could have been, it would have been a classic, right? Literally, then very next week I come back 5, boom, there you go.
Yeah, but it didn't happen though, did it? Let's be honest. I now take 41 correct answers versus 28 of you.
Honestly, the way this thing jumps every week, there's something wrong with it, Matt.
I think there's something wrong with you, Eddie. I think generally. I mean, look, again, I just love looking at this one, right? So we are looking at 4 straight weekends of I've got 4 in a row in terms of over victories there. And again, the gap just keeps getting wider, Eddie. It just keeps getting wider and wider every week it is. Now, I know you can tell I love doing these charts just to sort of rub it in. I've done another visual for you, Eddie, and I've looked at how the point differential between the two of us has actually grown week on week. How does this one show? Right?
Oh my goodness, what is this?
So if the black line is 0, so that's basically showing that us that sort of level terms, right? You were 1 up after week 2, and I got back to level week 3, but then that gap just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You're gonna have to do some work to try and get this back level.
I have. Look at that. Man, look, you're digging for oil at this rate. I mean, this is
No, when I originally did this, I actually had me on the top to show you, look how many points ahead I am. But now I thought I'd put myself as the minus number to show how many, how far away you are from me. But I said, look, Eddie, you can turn it all around, Eddie, if you really wanted to. I'm sure you can turn it all around. You can show a degree of respectability, Eddie. Yes. But let's look at this way. Let's see if you can start pulling it back now. As I mentioned, this week is a Thanksgiving weekend, so we're going to try and get this video out a day earlier than normal to try and include some of the Thursday games. And when we're pulling these games together, these are some buggers to pick this week. It really, really are. But let's start with a couple of the Thursday night games, and let's look at probably what may prove to be one of the most watched regular season games in history. And they're talking about that quite a bit. Let's look, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs at your beloved Dallas Cowboys. Both teams picked up really important wins last weekend, both comeback victories as well. It's almost like the footballing gods have decided, going into this fourth quarter, let's make this Thanksgiving Day a game that's going to be interesting. Cowboys came out from 21 points down to beat the Eagles. Chiefs came from 11 points down to beat the Colts. Eddie, how many points do you think the Cowboys are going to win by?
Listen, I don't actually care. I think even if they win by a point, 2 points, 3 points, it means it doesn't matter to me.
The reason why I ask, because I know you're going to say the Cowboys anyway. So I may as well ask you how many. I've actually already put down the Cowboys next to your name anyway, because there's not really much point in me asking.
Have you? I might just shock you and predict something that you didn't think. But it's not today. And so listen, and we said this, don't pick against the Chiefs. And I broke that rule last week. Picked against the Chiefs because I just think that the Chiefs haven't really put on a lot of back-to-back games this season, right? And it makes me think. I think last week there was a level of desperation, right? For the Chiefs, and they had to get this win, right? They're coming off, 2 teams in Buffalo and Denver, who, I mean, the Buffalo game wasn't too close, but the Denver game was close. Obviously, the Colts game was close, so I expect this to be another close game as well. They do have some players that are coming back from injury. Pacheco, he's rumored to be coming back, so that should help their running game, because their running game hasn't been really good in the last couple of games. But honestly, I've got to go with the Cowboys here. The Cowboys are playing at home. I think this is the best time to play the Chiefs. If you want to catch the Chiefs at any point in time, I think this is the time to catch them. Cowboys offense can score points. Josh Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. I think that the Cowboys offense is actually doing very well, in the sense that Dak Prescott is not getting lots of sacks. He's not getting hit on the floor. if the defense can just be decent, they can replicate what they did against the Eagles. But this time around, it'd be good for them to show up in the first half, not in the second half.
It would help, yeah.
Yeah, if they do that, I think the Cowboys have got a chance. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys, a very slim win over the Chiefs.
Yeah, you could have just said I was going to go for Cowboys. I knew you were going to go for that. But I'm going to shock you, and I'm also going to go for the Cowboys.
Oh,
yeah. Now the reason why is I disagree when you say it's the perfect time to play the Chiefs, because I think that this was a good victory. The Chiefs played a Colts team who were doing well. They built up. They're trying to build a bit of momentum. But I think momentum for this one's going to be key. And I think the momentum that you guys have is, especially after that big divisional comeback win against the Eagles, momentum's a big thing in football. And I just think at home, I just think that it's going to be a hot crowd, Thanksgiving crowd. I mean, if anyone could come in and silence that home crowd, it would be the Chiefs. But I just think the Dallas offense is looking just imperious at the moment. And I think the defense is improving. I think it'll be a close one, but for once, I'm actually going to pick the Cowboys. Just because, I can't stand to not pick the Cowboys and watch Cowboys win again, because, I don't think I could do that. So I'm going to go for the Cowboys as well. Now let's look at the other game. It's on a Thursday night that we're going to be picking, and this is going to be a tight one. This is the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions won last week, but they had to do it in overtime against a Giants team, if I'm rightly so. This was
a Giant. Ugly.
It was very, very ugly, but but to be fair, they got the job done. Whereas the Packers, I'm trying to say, the Packers play last week. Yes, they did. The Packers beat. They walked all over the Vikings 23-6.
Yeah,
this is big game for both sides. Where would you see this one going?
This game for me, so if I break down the elements of this game, you've got the Lions, who their offense swing from one game to the other, couldn't score a lick against the Eagles, and then they're matching Giants points for points, and that kind of tells me, is the Lions defense really that good? If they gave up that much, that many points to the Giants, and this is a Jameis Winston, Giants, who everyone knows. Jameis Winston, he throws touchdowns as much as he throws interceptions. But the Lions kept that very, very close. I mean, the Giants scored 27 points on them. So I look at this game and I think that the Green Bay Packers have actually got a much better defense. I think that this game, I'm going to tilt towards the Packers for this, only because of their defense. Because even when the Packers lose, it's not like as if it's the defense that is responsible for them losing. It's the offense not doing what they should do. So I'm gonna go with the Packers on this one. I think the Packers win this game.
Yeah, for me, this is one of the toughest games to call. We talked in our earlier episode in our Week 12 preview. We looked at the NFC North, how close it is. We've got the Bears, who are 8-3. Then you've got the Packers, who are 7-3-1, and then the Lions are 7-4. They could not be sort of closer, in that respect. I've decided to go for the Lions, and probably the only reason I've gone for the Lions is because the game's in Detroit. Right, it's as simple as that. I can't really split them. The Lions have a good home record. They're 4-1. But we said, I think it was last week when we were talking about the NFC, that all these teams have to play each other, right, multiple times. This is proper, like, a little sort of mini league, and you control your own destiny and all this kind of stuff. It's in your hands. The Lions, the Detroit crowd will be expecting the Lions to put on a performance, and I'm going to give them the edge for that purely based on that. I just can't think of how else to split them, and I just want to give you a chance as well. I want to give you a chance to try and claw some points back, because look, I mean, look, we are we're not American. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. But, I want to, it's in the spirits of, sharing, being thankful. I'm thankful for your friendship, Eddie. So I want to try and give you as much opportunity as I can for you to come back into these things, because, a 14-point lead, it's just getting embarrassing for you. You created this podcast, and, I just want to give you a bit of morale boost. So I'll pick the Lions for this one. See, I'm just getting things early. Right. The next one is Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to pick. And again, we've got some buggers to pick for this one. So Eagles, as we know, threw away a ridiculous lead against the Dallas Cowboys last week, when the Bears had a very solid performance. Again, they held out firm against the Steelers and continue their winning run. Now, this is a wounded Eagles team against a resurgent Bears team. Now, if you look at on paper, you would have think this should be a game for Eagles. The Philly crowd is going to be hot again. They're going to be expecting them to turn this form around against the Chicago team, who, let's be honest, they probably should be beating. But the Bears have done so well. They sit atop of their division. They're 8-3 at the moment. Who would have thought that the Bears would be 8-3 going into Thanksgiving? I know how much you love the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm assuming you're going to pick them, but explain to me why.
Listen, the Eagles are playing at home, and they've got to do something after that, disastrous performance that they showed at the Cowboys. And everyone is questioning everybody in the Eagles. Even the Eagle players are questioning everybody within the roster in the locker room. The Bears are being underestimated by a lot of teams, and I think that's probably the reason why they keep winning lots of games, because people keep thinking, are they really for real? These are the Bears that have really been sorry. The last couple of years in the NFL. They've gone through that quarterback carousel, with all kinds of quarterbacks, Justin Fields, they've tried everybody, and now it seems like they've got a quarterback, Caleb. I mean, when you pick number one overall, it means you've been bad. But I think people still have that history bias against the Bears. Look at them through that lens and think, surely they can't be that good. They're playing the Eagles. The Eagles are the better team, but are they really the better team? When you look at it, I think this Eagles crowd is very unforgiving, and they're going to turn on the Eagles very, very quickly. If things don't go right in the first quarter for the Eagles, with the taste of the Dallas Cowboys, especially because it was the Dallas Cowboys that left that defeat, they're going to be having, lots of, bitter taste in their mouth from that. I'm going to go for the Bears. I'm going to go for the Bears, to win this game, because I think the Bears are on a team that are on the up. They don't have any questions that they're asking themselves. The coach is a good coach. I think the Eagles can't get out of their own way. Lane Johnson is still out. And they also lost another defensive player in that game who's questionable. Brinkenship is also questionable. Did not see Dallas Goedert at all, their tight end. It was almost as if they gave the tight end the night off in that Dallas game. And they're going to need everyone if they need to beat this Bears team. I think they lose again.
So do I, actually. I've also got the Bears. I think the Bears, we said earlier in our last video that, we can no longer see them as the surprise package of the division. They are this is a big game for the Bears because, as we said, obviously when we looked at the last game, the Packers and the Lions play each other. So one of them is going to drop a game, right? So this gives the Bears an opportunity to potentially be 2 games up on one of their rivals. And I said that everyone's got to play each other. So this is a big game for Chicago. They're on a good run of form. I think it's 4 in a bounce that they've won. So I think they're going into the game in a really good run of form. And I really like what I hear, some of the stuff that you hear about the locker room. I think someone asked them in the locker room and said, so how are you guys reacting after that last win? And everyone expects to say, we're laser focused on the next game, laser focus. But actually they were like, no, the guys are singing, they're partying, they're dancing and all this kind of stuff because they're enjoying winning. And there aren't that many times you don't get to be 8-3 going into Thanksgiving, top of your division that often if you're a Chicago Bears fan or a Chicago Bears player. So they're enjoying the victories. They're obviously they're in a good position, and I just think that the way that the Eagles lost, that can be damaging for them. If they lose this game, I think they are going to get into the playoffs. I think that's fair. I think that's fairly clear. But this could be trouble for them if they do lose this game. They're going to lose all that momentum that they built over the course of the season, and they haven't been great. Chicago defense has been good for the most part this season. The Eagles haven't got it together, so I'm also going for the Bears. I know you're saying the Bears in more hope than expectation, but at least we're living that one. So another one. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at the Houston Texans, who pulled off a bit of a surprise victory against the Buffalo Bills last week. And they are traveling to the Indianapolis Colts, who threw away the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Eddie, again, I'll let you go first on this one. Where do you see this one?
I'm going to be quick in this one. I'm going to go with the Texans. That defense is for real. Saw what they did to my guy Josh Allen in the Bills. Whew. They gave him a rough night. They gave him a rough night, and I wasn't taking the Texans very seriously, and they've been flying under the radar a little bit because CJ Stroud wasn't really himself, and then he had an injury, was out. But that defense has been number 1 in the league in the last couple of weeks, and they're better defense than the Chiefs. So if that Chiefs defense could hold the Colts, and I'm sorry for the Colts, everything was going gravy for them, but I think they had to beat the Chiefs. They really had to beat the Chiefs last weekend. I think that weekend would have put some doubts because people are asking the question: are they for real? Can they really beat good teams? You get an opportunity to play the Chiefs, who are not really firing, and you don't get the business done. So I think the Texans are going to win this one. I just have this feeling. I think that defense is legit.
Yeah, this is a really I've going back and forth on this one because do you pick the team who have won 3 on the bounce and just went away and beat the Buffalo Bills last week? Or do you go for the team who are top of the division, who have won all 6 games at home this season, but threw away a victory against the Colts last week? I'll go with the Colts just to make it exciting between the two of us. Again, it would not surprise me a jot if the Texans won this, because you're right, the defense is looking great. 3 on the bounce, looking good. But yeah, the Colts are unbeaten at home. They're going to want to respond. I've never been completely sold on the Colts, if I'm honest, despite their record. But I think, I'm hoping that they'll go and do a job this week and pick up the W against Texans in another what could be a really fascinating divisional game. And let's end this week and do another one in the AFC. Let's look at the Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, this is bloody hard to call this one. The Bills have been disappointing this season, where we all thought that the Bills were going to absolutely run away with the AFC East. They find themselves second because it's the Patriots who are running away with the AFC East. And I have to say that the Bills, again, 7-4 at the moment. They're at 7th seed as it currently stands in the AFC. Haven't been great. Pittsburgh again, flattered to deceive for the most parts. Where do you think this one's going?
Oh, this one's a tough one for me. Kind of going back and forth. In this one, because I'm just thinking to myself, right? Which team needs this the most? Which team needs this the most? Because I feel like that's probably what's gonna decide, this game. Which team needs it the most?
Well, I personally think the Steelers need this the most, because not that I'm trying to sway your decision at all. Because they're 6-5, they sit second in the AFC North. The Ravens have overtaken them now, because the Ravens have won 5 on about. So they've come from being 1-5 to now 6-5, right? So the Ravens are looking strong in that division. The Steelers need to pick up some wins to challenge for the AFC North, or at least to secure themselves in a playoff position. They're currently in the hunt. They're currently out of the picture at the moment because they're a game behind the Bills. If they win, they go 7-5, and the Bills are 7-5. So I would probably say this is probably a bigger game for Pittsburgh at home. If you're trying to shave it that way. So I think it's probably a bigger game for Pittsburgh. It's just whether they are good enough to, stop Allen.
Yeah, so Allen has got this tendency of just breaking out in games and being Superman. And they've just signed Brandon Cooks, who was let go from the Saints. He asked to be released. Brandon Cooks asked to be released, and Brandon Cooks was a decent receiver, but the Bills are not that kind of team that likes to make receivers shine. I don't know. For some reason, it seems like it has to be Josh Allen or nothing, right? And I'm just going to pick the Steelers just because I think that they need this game more. I feel like the Bills feel like their schedule is not as daunting, so I think they're less desperate. I think the Steelers are kind of looking at this and saying, "Oof, the Ravens are coming, and they are coming hot." And if we've got to stand a chance to get into this playoffs, we're going to need to win the division, because I don't think there's another way that they can make it. So, yeah, I would think that the Steelers, because guess what, right? After this game, they play the Ravens. So in week 14, the Steelers and the Ravens go head to head. So I think what the Steelers will want to be in the same record as the Ravens going into that game, and winner takes all. So I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Interesting. I've gone back and forth, and maybe it's because I'm a Dolphins fan. I've had my hands burnt by the Bills so many times. I'm just going to go for the Bills.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know why. I nearly talked myself around to picking the Steelers when I was telling you about how I think it's more important for the Steelers. But no, I'm going for the Bills in this one. Yeah, there's some really tough games. There are a lot of the games, I think, when we were looking at these picks, we've picked the 5 toughest games to call, and I think beyond that, there are a lot of games you think, okay, well, these guys should really win that. Okay, that team should dominate that team, or that team, oh yeah, that's an obvious win. So there's going to be a lot of shocks. We've just picked, I think, the 5 hardest games to call. So who knows? One of us could run away with all 5, or one of us could easily lose all 5. I think it's one of those weeks. So
I think so.
So yes, we've both gone for the Cowboys over the Chiefs. I've gone for the Lions, and you've gone for the Packers. We've both gone for the Bears over the Eagles. I've gone for the Colts, and you've gone for the Texans, and I've gone for the Bills, and you've gone for the Steelers. So there we go. So they are our picks for the Thanksgiving weekend. All left for me to say is, again, thank you everyone for watching, for tuning in. What do you think of our picks? If you want to leave some comments and just laugh at Eddie of his poor performance, please keep doing that. It makes me feel quite good. But beyond that, thanks again for watching. Eddie, take us home.
Yeah, so week 13 is fast approaching, and it might be unlucky for some as we go into the NFL weekend. But I'm expecting good games, Thanksgiving, Turkey, which is great for us in the UK because it means we get to see 5 o'clock games, on a weekday, which is not normal. And then we also get a Friday game, as well, plus all the games on Sunday. So this is going to be an absolutely great weekend. But guys, thank you all for subscribing on the channel. Appreciate it. Please hit that like and subscribe as well. And let's hear what you think about our picks. What do you think about my bad form? And is this the week that I turn it all around and get that 5-0 and start to climb out of this bit of a hole that I've dug myself into? But we'll see how that gets in the next Across the Gridiron.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the